Across oceans and separated by thousands of years, every human civilization independently arrived at the exact same solution for dealing with the unknown. They invented symbols of ultimate power. When survival depended entirely on the harvest and childbirth, societies prioritized nourishment and reproduction. We see this in artifacts like the Venus of Willendorf, where exaggerated physical features represent the absolute necessity of fertility. Later, as populations swelled into sprawling city-states, the needs changed. To maintain complex societies, cultures sculpted bearded, authoritative figures that projected law, kingship, and rigid order. It is tempting to look back at these idols as failed attempts at early science, but the historical records suggest something different. These diverse figures were sophisticated, unified responses to the terror of living in a completely uncontrollable reality. Early humans woke up every day to an environment trying to kill them. They faced apex predators, sudden violent storms, and the constant threat of starvation. Everything was unpredictable. Biologically, the human brain cannot handle that level of long-term unpredictability. We have a severe neurological intolerance for unresolved tension. In cognitive science, this is known as cognitive strain. This chart breaks down exactly how our ancestors resolved that pressure. An environmental need generates an intense emotion, like fear. That emotion is mapped onto a symbol, which is managed through a ritual, and eventually solidifies into a deity. These nature deities functioned as essential cognitive tools. They organized environmental chaos into a predictable narrative, transforming raw survival pressures into a framework the brain could actually manage. Once humanity figured out how to build shelters and store grain, the primary survival threat changed. The most pressing danger was no longer the weather, it was other people. The cognitive strain shifted toward maintaining social order and enforcing justice within growing tribes. To solve this, humans relied on a biological trait inherited straight from our mammalian ancestors: hierarchical social structures. We see this exact dynamic in primate communities today, where an alpha figure provides protection, distributes resources, and manages internal conflicts. Curiously, humans possess symbolic memory, which allows a leader's authority to survive their physical death. In many societies, this memory evolves through a specific sequence. The deceased leader becomes a venerated ancestor. The ancestor's deeds grow into legend, and over generations, that historical human authority is elevated into the realm of mythology and local godhood. The warrior gods and divine kings that dominate ancient history are evolutionary extensions of that ancient alpha instinct. We scaled up animal leadership to govern human societies. Eventually, civilizations stabilized. Walls were built, and basic survival was secured. And right at that moment, the human brain unlocked a terrifying new level of abstraction. We began to ask the existential question: what exactly is infinity? What existed before existence? Why is there something, not nothing? This diagram illustrates why these questions are so uniquely threatening. Unlike a rival tribe, asking what created the universe creates an endless regression of cause and effect. Y created X, Z created Y, but what created Z? This philosophical recursion leaves the loop open. It triggers severe intellectual strain because the human brain desperately needs to close the chain of logic to feel secure. The brain kinematics model suggests that the brain stabilizes this tension by seeking a high-order attractor. This is a final, absolute concept that serves as a terminal point for the chain of causation, effectively locking the open loop of inquiry. As our questions expanded from the mechanics of the local river to the origins of reality itself, our symbols were forced to scale up. Localized nature spirits gave way to formless, universal creator absolutes, concepts capable of providing a stable answer to why there is a world at all. Today, it is popular to assume that science and religion are locked in a zero-sum conflict, but looking closely at human cognition reveals that they are actually performing completely different functions. We map this using a hierarchy of reality. Science is humanity's tool for empirical measurement, systematically reducing uncertainty at the lowest mechanical levels. Religion and philosophy evolved to handle the higher tiers, resolving strains surrounding subjective purpose and the unmeasurable aspects of existence. we've traveled a massive evolutionary distance. We started carving stone idols to cope with survivalism, gradually pushing our minds toward contemplating formless, universal principles. It is no coincidence that the greatest modern scientific minds, having explained the mechanics of the universe, often arrive right back at the edge of this hierarchy, experiencing the exact same cosmic wonder that drove early humans to look at the sky. Whether viewed through the lens of profound faith or the mechanics of neuroscience, the history of God is ultimately the history of the human mind. It is the record of our relentless struggle to find a stable point of meaning in an infinite universe.